Well, welcome back to the podcast. It's time in my I Destroyed My Marriage strategy for you and your support team to reach out to your divorce-minded spouse. This has to be done carefully and strategically. That's my topic on today's podcast. Now, before I get into today's topic, two things. First, if you're in a marital crisis, I have a book for you. I guarantee you, whatever the marital crisis is, I've got a book with a specific plan of action for it. And you can also do a 45-minute phone advice session with me. Many spouses across the country are doing these phone advice sessions. It's important to know that you are following the right strategy, the strategy that gives you the best chance to save your marriage. For my books, the phone advice, and all my resources, including my marriage intensives, go to my website, davideclarkephd.com. That's Clarke with an E. Second, today I'm going to answer a podcast question from a regular podcast listener, someone who has subscribed to the podcast. You heard that subtle hint to subscribe? I'm a marketing genius. Anyway, here we go. Here's the question, and it's a good one. I read your book, I Don't Want a Divorce, and just watched your top 10 lame reasons on YouTube. That's one of my talks, top 10 lame excuses to end a marriage. I fit in the category of a spouse with a big sin, okay? He's admitting that, all right? It's a start. I had been married 29 years and struggled with a porn addiction for 23 years of the marriage. Boy, that's tough. Tough on the wife, especially. I began my journey to health 6 years ago, but despite trying things in your book and others, my wife did not want to try any of those things. Well, she's checked out. She was too hurt. Just recently, she's hit the wall and told me she needed to see a counselor and that she did not know if she wanted our marriage anymore. She had previously told me she loved me but was not in love with me anymore. Well, this doesn't sound good. She's checked out. Done. He continues, we have been on a roller coaster of emotions and I have asked her to give me another chance now that I am in recovery. She says I am making her feel guilty and trapping her to stay. She gave me plenty of chances to stop porn, she tells him, and I didn't for years. Well, that's true. She points to the Bible saying this is biblical grounds for divorce. She doesn't have a lame excuse. She has a real one. Well, that's true. What do I say to her? I know I'm asking for some free advice, he says, but I'm broken and need all the sage advice I can get at this pivotal time. Well, he's come to the right place for sage advice. Well, let's hope so. And he thanks me in advance for my response. Okay, here's my response. And this is not an uncommon situation after serious sin. I'm glad you reached out, this man. I wrote a book for you. In fact, I'm doing podcasts on it right now, a series of podcasts. It's called I Destroyed My Marriage. Your picture could be on the cover. It's written for you. It lays out a game plan for your situation. Now, it's available only on my website, davideclarkephd.com. Now, no matter where you are in the process of recovery and where your spouse is, this is the right book. You can start it now. It's an ebook as well as a print book. Now, just some keys here. You're going to have to give her plenty of space. You'll, of course, see all this in the book, the game plan, but you give her plenty of space. You leave your home. You leave your church. You get a support team gathered, and you get to work on your spiritual and emotional recovery. Now, she's going to have to see maybe more tangible results of that recovery, and that'll be covered in the book. You need to show her that you're changing. Certainly listen to these podcasts on I Destroyed My Marriage. That's going to be helpful too. And this is not just for this man, but anyone listening. If you need a 45-minute phone advice session with me to make sure I get the right background and you've got just the right strategy, well then contact me through the website, davideclarkephd.com, and we can do that as well. So that is my answer to that question. And again, I've got a book for it. I've got a plan of action that will give this man the best chance to save his marriage. Okay. Now, today's podcast, continuing in I Destroyed My Marriage. And in this scenario, now we're ready with all the recovery steps, all the other things you've avoided doing wrong. Now it's time to reach out to your divorce-minded spouse. So a key part of my Save Your Marriage plan is to reach out carefully and strategically to your spouse a total of 4 times. Now, here is exactly when and how I want you and your team to handle these 4 critical contacts. Now, this is where having the ebook or the print book is helpful to make sure that it's in black and white right in front of your face so you don't make any mistakes. But let me cover this. 1 month. Now, 1 month into the separation, you will send her an email telling her, this is the man that sinned terribly, and he's, of course, reaching out to his wife who wants to be done. 1 month into the separation, you will send her an email telling her what you are doing to recover spiritually and emotionally. After you've sent your email, your accountability partner will send her an email giving her the same information. She may not believe you because trust is so low, so your accountability partner's report is important. Now, I want you to keep in mind, if you've been listening to these podcasts, you know this is true, or if you've bought the book already, keep in mind, even before you send this 1 month into separation email, you've done a lot to demonstrate repentance and change. You told her the entire truth verbally about your sin in your area of weakness. You read her the first letter. You developed with her a clear separation agreement. You haven't quit. You've left your home and you've left your church. You've given her plenty of space. You haven't chased, begged, and pleaded because that never works. In fact, it makes it worse. You've treated your kids in a healthy, non-manipulative way. You've avoided the mistakes I've covered, or at least aren't continuing to make them. Now, in your email to her, you identify the members on your spiritual and emotional recovery teams and provide their contact information. Tell her that if she wants to give information to or get information from any of your team members, she can do that at any time. Now, in this email at 1 month, here are the things that you tell her. Now, again, thinking of this man that had the podcast question, this is where my plan comes in handy. You're not winging it. You're not just doing the best you can on your own. You're following a strategic, step-by-step manual of action. So in the email, you tell her you're attending a new church. You give the church's name and your new pastor's name. You have told your new pastor the entire truth about your sin. You tell her that. You are attending a men's small group at your new church. You are having a daily quiet time with God in which you read the Bible, read a devotional, and pray. You are meeting weekly with your individual therapist to figure out and fix your psychological problems. You are in a Celebrate Recovery group once a week at a church, and you can, of course, name the church. You have read Dr. David Clarke's book, I'm Not Okay, and Neither Are You, The 6 Steps to Emotional Freedom, and you're following that recovery plan. You are meeting once every 2 weeks with your accountability partner so he can support you and hold you accountable as you grow spiritually and emotionally. You tell her she can contact you at any time to ask about your progress. Now, she may or may not, but she's open to do that anytime. That's it in this email. No, I love you. No, I want you back. See, that's chasing and begging. Won't work. No, how are you doing? No, asking her how she feels about you. No, asking her to go to marriage counseling with you. It's too soon for that. It's a classic mistake, as I've covered in previous podcasts. Do not ask for marriage counseling. People think, oh, well, even if he says yes, it's a bad idea at this point. Tell your accountability partner you have sent your email. A day later, he'll send an email to her with the same information you gave her in your email. He's communicating to her, yes, he's doing all the things he says he's doing. Your accountability partner asks her how she and the kids are doing. That's not for you to ask, he asks. He does not ask her to do anything or to consider marriage counseling. That will come later in the process. He tells her that if she wants to contact him at any time, she is welcome to do so. Okay, now we're at the 3-month mark. That's 1 month. 3 months in. 3 months into the separation, you and 2 of your team members, your therapist and your accountability partner, will contact your spouse and give her a thorough update on your progress. You will go first, your therapist will go second, and your accountability partner will go third. You see how specific Dr. Clarke is? Specific. Okay, you reach out. Contact your spouse and tell her you'd like to give her an update on your progress. Tell her you've written a letter and you'd like to read it to her in person. You indicate you can read it to her anytime she chooses. This, of course, is your Big 7 letter, which I covered in the last podcast. Very important letter. If she won't let you read it to her in person, ask if you can read it to her via FaceTime or on the phone. If she refuses those 2 options, and she might, tell her you will mail the letter to her via regular mail. If she allows an in-person reading, after you're done, you give her the letter. If she chooses a FaceTime or phone reading, you'll mail the letter to her after the reading. Now listen to me, this letter must be handwritten. This is intensely personal stuff, and a typed word processed letter seems impersonal. Don't do that. Unless you have a wonderful cursive handwriting, and no one does, print the letter using a black pen. Before you read this letter to her or mail it, ask her how she's doing and how she feels the kids are doing. Again, this is the 3-month mark. Don't ask her if she sees any changes in you. Don't ask her how she feels about you in the marriage. Don't ask her if she'll stop the divorce. Don't ask her to enter marriage counseling. After the reading or the mailing, Don't ask her if she sees any changes in you. Don't ask her how she feels about you in the marriage. Don't ask her if she'll stop the divorce. Don't ask her to enter marriage counseling. Here's the one statement you do make after she has heard or read the letter. If you want to comment, respond, vent, or ask questions about the letter, I'll listen anytime and however you want to do it. Don't expect a positive response to your Big 7 letter. Expect a negative response and receive it with grace, kindness, patience, and understanding. Now, all of these things may happen. She'll give no response and just ignore you. She'll call you a liar. She'll say this is far too little, far too late. She'll vent her anger and confirm her decision to divorce you. She'll listen for a while to the letter and then cut you off. If she does this, accept it and end the meeting and give her the letter. Okay, now it's your therapist's turn. If you have a competent, experienced therapist, not a life coach, not a pastor, and I told you to get a therapist like this, he or she will know how to reach out to your spouse and deliver the 3-month update. But because I'm a detailed guy, as you can tell, here's how I think your therapist should handle this contact. I've done a million of these. Here's how it's to be done. Your therapist attempts to contact your spouse by phone. If she doesn't return his message, which is likely, he'll email the request for a meeting to update her on your progress. He'll ask her to come in for an in-person session with him. He'll say you will pay for this session. If she won't come in, he'll ask her to do the update by FaceTime or phone. If she refuses all these options, and she might, he'll tell her he will email her the update. Now, assuming she agrees to a personal live interaction, in-person, FaceTime, or phone, your therapist should cover 3 main areas in his time with your spouse. First, he takes a quick history of her childhood, family of origin, previous romantic relationships, and her overview of your marriage. When he gets to the marriage, he asks her to describe in detail how you wounded her with your behavior. She won't mind talking about that. Now, this history reveals any unresolved past pain of hers that is transferring to you. That's the job of a therapist. One of the jobs is to find out about that transferring pain. And he finds out where she is in her process of healing from the damage you did to her. If he realizes she's carrying a lot of pain and is not taking any steps to heal, he will recommend she find an individual therapist and do her own recovery work. Again, that can come from him, not from you. He'll make it clear her individual work has nothing to do with you or the marriage. It's only about her and her need to heal. He can give her names and contact information of some local therapists. The truth is, if she does work with a therapist on her healing, it can only help your cause. As she heals personally, she may see hope for the marriage. If she keeps all this awful stuff inside of her with what you've done to her and what past people have done to her, now she'll divorce you. So we have to get that out. Second, your therapist gives a comprehensive update on the work you've done on yourself and the progress you've made. It's in detail. He covers your spiritual and emotional progress. He describes the wounds in your past you have addressed, insights you've gained about your sinful behavior, how you've dismantled your sinful pattern, what you've learned about being a better husband, and how you're growing closer to God. You see, specific. At the end of this progress evaluation, he tells your spouse that he believes you have worked hard and are in solid recovery. Third and finally, he asks her where she is regarding the marriage. He does not ask her to consider marriage counseling, but he does ask her if she has noticed any changes in you and if she's feeling any differently about you. See, he can ask that. You can't. He closes by telling her he will communicate with her anytime she wants to contact him. I want your spouse to be in the loop of therapy, not outside of it, at least at this point, the 3-month point. If he has to send her an email update, he obviously won't be able to take a history of her past and of the marriage. He will cover all the other areas and will ask her to send him an email with information about her view of the marriage. He will also ask her to tell him how much pain she is carrying and if she's seeing a therapist for herself. If she reveals she isn't in individual therapy, he can email referral names and contact information of local therapists. See, a therapist can do this. We refer people to therapists all the time, and we know if someone needs therapy or not. Okay, finally, at the 3-month mark, your accountability partner. After you and your therapist have contacted your spouse, it's your accountability partner's turn. He will ask for an in-person meeting to give her an update on you. If she won't meet in person, and she might not, he'll follow the same progression. Well, will you do FaceTime? Will you do phone? Or I'll do an email update if I need to. This update from your accountability partner will be much briefer than yours and your therapist, but it's just as important. He'll ask how she's doing and how the kids are doing. He'll then tell her how he thinks you're doing in your spiritual and emotional recovery. He'll describe what you two discuss in your meetings and the changes he's seen in you. Again, this is someone she knows and trusts. He'll tell her he believes you are sincerely working on yourself and are a changed man. He'll tell her he believes you are in solid recovery. He'll tell her he believes you haven't sinned in your area of weakness, all important. He'll ask her where she is in regards to your marriage. He'll ask her if she sees any changes in you. He'll invite her to ask any questions she wants of him. At the close of the meeting or email, he'll ask her to contact him anytime she chooses. He will not ask her to consider marriage counseling. Now, she'll expect all three of you to ask for marriage counseling. None of you will do that. Not yet. Not at the 3-month mark. Now, these contacts are important, 1 month and 3 months, but they're only the first 2 in my plan. Now, in my next podcast, I'll focus on the final 2 contacts with your spouse. Now, if you're listening to these podcasts and benefiting from them, and I hope you are, hope and pray you are, please give us a 5-star rating and a review on Apple Podcasts. This will help us expand the ministry, reach more people, save more marriages. So if you can give us that 5-star rating, and these podcasts are worth 5 stars, and a review on Apple Podcast, we'd appreciate it. Okay, until next time, David E. Clarke, out.